Welcome back to the Players Zone channel, everybody, and welcome back. It's been a while to the Premier League predictions video for match week 22, some midweek fixtures here to feast our eyes upon. Very exciting games from the top, a few in the middle there, and definitely down the bottom as well. A few teams that need to get a big 3 points. Obviously, coming into this week, it's been a while, but just a refresher on last time out, only managed the 4 prediction points in terms of our system. 1 point being for the correct result, 3 points being for the correct scoreline, obviously 0 for neither. So on the year now, after 21 weeks, I've got 133 of our prediction points, so not too bad, but definitely over the last sort of 5 to 6 predictions, we've really struggled. So we really need a big week this week to pick us up. But obviously the prediction videos are back. Make sure if you do enjoy them to please like, subscribe, and share this channel with mates for more of this prediction content, football content, real life content as well. It's all living here on the Players Zone channel. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get straight into the match week 22 predictions. Our first game of the midweek fixtures is Nottingham Forest, who hosts Arsenal. 2 teams right now who are trying to refine some form. Started with Nottingham Forest, obviously at home, hasn't been that sort of fortress that we were used to last season, and under Nuno, they're really trying to refine that form. A big win against Newcastle, big win versus Manchester United, but then last time out, a tough 3-2 loss to Brentford, and Ivan Toney's return really made me question where they're currently at the moment. Are they really the real deal? That's the things we're keeping in mind here. But I think it's all going to be sort of based around what Morgan Gibbs-White can do, what Chris Wood can produce, and if Anthony Elanga's fit enough to go and play this game, because it seems at the moment they lack that real ability to go put teams away or score chances and be clinical in front of goal without these guys putting in, solid performances. Because at the back, they've been good at times, but not consistent enough. And I think you're going to rely on their forward to do most of the work this season, especially if they're going to be safe. I think they'll probably be safe, but they're, in that sort of group there, alongside Everton, the like, that it's not too far away if Luton decide to flick a switch or Burnley get into some form. So a really big game. Probably not this one because Arsenal are in such good form, but other games coming up to try and spread their legs and get away from the bottom. Obviously, talking about Arsenal, they've had a bit of a break of the FA Cup, being knocked out last round by Liverpool. So a chance for them to sort of reset after a great 5-0 win versus Crystal Palace. Probably wasn't their best performance in terms of they've actually had some better games, but it's their first game this season where they really put a team to the sword. Martinelli scoring a double, Trossard being good from the start, Martin Odegaard looking more like himself. That's what we expect from Arsenal. So in this game, I expect them to try and get that bounce off that last game and put another really, really good performance and another big scoreline. I think since the Arsenal winning this game 3-0, again, it'll be tough to tell because we don't know what Arsenal's going to show up, if they're going to be good enough or if they're going to be slightly off the pace. So in my mind, a 3-0 win for Arsenal. But again, Nottingham Forest can definitely make it hard for them in this game. Our next game is very interesting. It's Luton back at home at Kenilworth Road, taking on Brighton and Hove Albion. For Luton, really needed some 3 points here. Obviously, still a game behind. They've got a game in hand on a few teams around them. But if they get that win in the game in hand, they can leapfrog themselves out of the bottom 3. And that'd be a massive mental help, on their way, seeing themselves outside of the relegation zone. They continue to look to me like a team that's the only team capable of getting out. Rob Edwards has got his side playing very solid at the back, with that 5 in defence and 3 at the back when they're going forward. I talked about Alfie Doughty in the podcast. He's been very important for this side. And also Ross Barkley continues to shine for them as well. They always had the massive result for themselves in the FA Cup, the 2-1 win versus Everton, to keep themselves in the hunt and in the round of 16 there. So they're doing some really great things here at the moment. Obviously taken 3 points off Newcastle recently at home, but also challenged some of the top teams like Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City at home as well. So definitely where they do their best work is at home in that tight, condensed sort of environment. And that could prove to be a problematic task here for Brighton, who really trying to get into this good string of form. A few players coming back. Estupiñán's been a big back for them. They try to push in to this back half of the season here. A few easier fixtures before they get some of the big boys towards the end of the season. And me and Phil have touched on it on the podcast. They've got a chance here to really try and establish themselves amongst that top 5, top 6 with a few good results here and really lock away those spots, because they can get a few big wins like games here against Luton. They can really separate themselves from the rest. So definitely a big game for them. I think they'll get over the line just in this one. It's going to be a tight affair. Brighton are going to have to be patient because Luton will sit in and try and absorb as much pressure as possible. I can see Brighton nicking this one 2-1, with Luton really proving to be a problematic side. Our next game sees us in London. It's Fulham hosting Everton. These are two teams here that are so hard to call at the moment. Everton were going through a great run of form, and then have recently really just dropped off. Established by that 3-2 loss to Luton midweek in the FA Cup. Fulham is also as well so hard to read. A really great performance in the second leg of the semi-final of the Carabao Cup against Liverpool. Back up against that is a sort of mid to average performance versus Newcastle United. So they've both been teams that have yo-yoed around a fair bit this season and really hard to read. The only thing I can say is that Fulham have been quite good at home as of recent. Obviously touching that Arsenal result not too long ago in the Premier League where they got that win there as well. So that's probably the only benefit I can see in these two sides. It's such a hard game to call. I think there'll definitely be goals in this game, especially the way Everton have been really clinical on their counter-attacks and when they've had the ball at their feet. And with the form of Jimenez for Fulham and Willian's been very, very good as of recent, I can see Fulham also scoring some goals as well. I'm going to give the edge to Fulham this one. I've got them winning this game 3-1. Don't get me wrong, this is one of the hardest games to predict from the weekend, so could go either way. Our next game keeps us in London. It's Crystal Palace hosting the Blades, Sheffield United. An interesting game here in the fact that Crystal Palace, a lot of pressure on this side at the moment, a lot of pressure on Roy Hodgson to make this team work. Last season when he came to the job, they were flourishing, they were front-footed style of football, goals, attacking play. And at the moment, they look a shadow of that. Obviously, last time out against Arsenal, a 5-0 loss was very, very damaging to his reputation, the team's performances. They have dropped back into that sort of relegation 6 or 7, and they want to get back out of there. They're too talented, too good, have too much quality all over the park to be sitting in that sort of group there. So really important game for these guys to sort of separate themselves, put a few goals past Sheffield United, and really hopefully refine that excitement and front-footed style of football they had last season. At least that looks like he's coming back for this game, which will be very important for them. And also Jordan Ayew should be back as well for the AFCON. So you had a bit of quality to this side that was really missing last time out versus Arsenal. And I think for them, it's important they score first and score early so Sheffield United don't take this game late, because if Sheffield United are going to get anything out of this game, it's similar to West Ham. Keep the game close, take the game to the 80th, 90th minute, and you never know what's going to happen. They did that well against West Ham. They got the 2-2 draw last time out at Sheffield United, but I think Crystal Palace will be better in this game. They're probably better on the ball in terms of chance creation. Might be a bit of a ping-pong back and forth affair at times, but I think Crystal Palace will have too much in this game. I've got them winning this game 2-0, and a nice comfortable win to hopefully keep Roy Hodgson in a job for a little bit longer. The next game is Aston Villa hosting Newcastle United. And a very interesting clash this will be in terms of establishing who's going to be amongst those Europa League or Conference League or Champions League positions. As of recent, Aston Villa's form has seen a bit of a drop-off. They've beaten some of the big boys and then drawn 0-0 to Everton and Chelsea back-to-back in the Premier League and the FA Cup. Just teams at the moment, they're not as clinical in front of goal, and when you're a big side, teams will allow you to have some chances and sit in, but when teams sit in against you, you're not going to get the most clear-cut opportunities. So when they do come, you've got to be more clinical in front of goal, and that's what's really hurt Aston Villa as of recently. The Everton game, there's a few half chances, but you've got to score one of them so that Everton just can't sit in and absorb pressure. So important for them in this game here, this opportunity to bounce back against a Newcastle side who are also on the up, I think, in many regards. A lot of injuries, have settled down at Newcastle. They're playing some better football. A nice win in the FA Cup, 2-0. And last time out the Premier League, a really tough 3-2 loss to Manchester City. Basically, Kevin De Bruyne won that game for City. So they're playing some really good football and they can take it to the big teams. We know that. We know how they played last season. I think they're just trying to refine that identity from last year as well. A lot of pressure on Eddie Howe to perform, to probably keep his job. Unai Emery wants to keep this side amongst the top four. They need somewhat of a title race. So big for both teams here. I think though Aston Villa just know how to win at home, and that's why I've put them win this game 2-0. Purely the fact, they just know how to win at home. They'll get over the line in tough games, and I feel like it's going to be close right to the end. And when you've got that home ground advantage of Villa Park, I think you can get over the line. So as I said, Aston Villa 2-0 winners in this one for me. Next game is up north in Manchester. It's Manchester City hosting Burnley. Vincent Kompany returning to the Etihad as a manager this time around. And unfortunately, this game's going to be a bit of a slam dunk for me. Man City with De Bruyne back, Haaland on his way back as well. Bernardo Silva's great form, how solid they've been in the back as of recent, and then some great performances around that from Phil Foden and the likes. It doesn't have too much quality for this Burnley side who, as of recent, have produced better performances, but overall are really going to struggle against a City side that's going to pound them in terms of pressure, and eventually that damn wall will break. I think City have another big game in them here. I'm going a 5-1 City win, and the start of their title charge is truly alive. I feel like this could be a game where we see City start to put teams to the sword. Our next game is an all-London affair. It is Tottenham Hotspur hosting Brentford in what could prove to be quite an interesting game in terms of two contrasting styles. Tottenham will definitely go on the front foot at home. Recently in the Premier League, the 2-2 draw versus Manchester United, which they probably deserve 3 points in, and obviously the tough loss at home to Man City 1-0 in the FA Cup. It means all their confidence and all their energy we focus now on the Premier League. They'll try and really establish himself as a top 4 side, knocking Villa out of that position. They've played some great football in a lot of games as of recent and had some mixed results, but I thought they're going to start to turn a corner here with James Maddison coming back, all the centre-backs being healthy, an established group sort of refining himself. The team that was top of the Premier League is sort of coming back. All those players are coming back to fitness and to health. You had Timo Werner in there, the great form of Richarlison. I think you had a really, really solid side here. Another chance, though, against a Brentford side that will sit in and try and absorb as much pressure as possible to see if Spurs can continue to break down sides. For Brentford, it's going to be pretty simple. Absorb as much pressure as you can and utilise that clinical finisher in Ivan Toney in the counter-attack to try and nick a goal here or there. But I just think Tottenham, with how expressive and how front-footed they'll be, it'll be overwhelming for Brentford. I've got them winning this game 3-0. I think you can see Richarlison back in the goals and maybe a Timo Werner first goal in his new colours for Tottenham. Our next game is arguably the biggest of the weekend. Liverpool at Anfield host Chelsea. The first Premier League game since Jurgen Klopp has announced he'll be leaving the club at the end of the season. And a massive game this one will be, not only for the league title race, but also to preview the Carabao Cup final, which is around a month away as well. Liverpool have been absolutely incredible as of recently. 4-0 win versus Bournemouth last time out in the Premier League. Topped it off with a Carabao Cup semi-final, grinding out sort of result, and then a 5-2 win against Norwich on the weekend in the FA Cup. This team knows how to score goals. 4 goals scored in the last 2 Premier League games. They continue to attack. Jota's in great form. Darwin Núñez seems to be everywhere at the moment. And Alexis McAllister alongside Dominic Szoboszlai, that midfield there, continue to be so dynamic. And whoever pairs up as the third midfield in that trio there seems to just do so well. You've got Virgil van Dijk at the back to his peak sort of performances that we saw a few years ago. It's always going right for the moment for Liverpool. You've even got Joe Gomez putting in a shift at left back as well. So right now everyone's playing well and everyone's playing for Jurgen Klopp at the moment since he's announced he'll be leaving the club. It just seems like one of those games where Liverpool will be up for the occasion. They need these wins, especially with Arsenal coming up on the weekend. They want to keep that gap to Man City big enough that in the Arsenal game, if it does go a little bit sour, they're still on top of the Premier League. So I back them in this game. Chelsea have been good as of recent. The 6-1 win over Middlesbrough in the Cup. And recently in the Premier League, putting together better performances. 3 wins in the bounce there. Not great performances, but getting over the line. That's the most important thing for Chelsea. Get some confidence, get some results, and try and go in that right direction there. I think, though, unfortunately, they'll come against a Liverpool side with so much form and so much confidence, they won't get over the line in this one. I've got Liverpool winning this game 3-1, but it will be a very, very good game. Another classic from Anfield. Our next game is probably the second best game from the weekend, the penultimate game of the midweek fixtures. It is West Ham at home hosting Bournemouth. West Ham obviously in a bit of a downturn as of recent. The 2-2 draw to Sheffield United in the league, backing that up with an FA Cup shock exit and really needing a result here against Bournemouth back at home. We know they'll probably get Paqueta, Kudus back as well, which will be important for the side. And obviously got Calvin Phillips joining from Manchester City as well to add to that midfield depth. However, they're going up against a Bournemouth side who, despite some disappointing results in the last 2 Premier League games, got a massive 5-0 win in the Cup versus Swansea City and continue to be, for me, one of the most, up-and-coming sides in terms of that. I think they'll break into the top half there. Andre Ariola's got his team playing some great football, and behind the likes of Justin Kluivert, Lewis Cook and Dominic Solanke, you've got some really informed players here that can prove to be a problem for West Ham. West Ham like to play on the counter-attack, and it probably will help that Bournemouth will want to play more on the ball as well. So that could play into West Ham's hands. But I think Bournemouth's style of football and their ability to be clinical in front of goal will be their difference in this game here. And they've got too much quality at the moment and too much confidence to get over the line. West Ham are always going to be a threat at home, but I think Bournemouth put a few past them. I've got Bournemouth winning this game 3-1 and really establishing themselves as a team that can push up into that top half of the Premier League table. Our final game of the midweek fixtures is Wolves hosting Manchester United, and this one could see another shock result. Wolves at home have been very, very good this season, beating up some big teams, taking points of some big teams at home, and it's really been the place that's been the foundation of where they are on the Premier League table at the moment, as a real mid-table pushing up into the top half sort of side. It's the ability to beat teams at home, be dominant at home, and really make sure they establish that as a real fortress. And Manchester United haven't been a great travelling side this season. They haven't been a great side at all, to be honest. And you look back to the first game of the year where Wolves took on Manchester United at Old Trafford, and Wolves are arguably the better side, and I expect them to probably be the better side once again in this game here, with some of the form of their players like Matheus Cunha, as well as that midfield dynamic link up in there as well. Pablo Sarabia on the right, that defence with Kilman and Dawson were so consistent. I think that really proved to be a problem for Manchester United. Obviously, Manchester United have come off a decent win versus Newport 4-2, a solid result versus Spurs in 2-2, but it's not a really strong Man United side. The only thing that's going for them is that Casemiro, Martinez, and Luke Shaw are all back. This team looks like the team that we thought we'd see this season. That's going to work in their favour, and that's the only reason I can see Manchester United getting over the line in this game here. It's because those superstars are all back, and because they've got those quality back in the side. I think they'll just nick it. It's going to be really, really tight and really close, similar to this same sort of fixture last season when Marcus Rashford came through to score a winner there. It's going to be one of those tight, close games. I've got Manchester United win this game 2-1. Don't get me wrong, it could swing the other way and Wolves win this one as well. It's going to be a very interesting affair, and something that'll really shape how Manchester United's second half of the season will really come on. Well, that being said, ladies and gents, that brings my predictions for game week 22 to an end. Midweek fixtures, we absolutely love it. The Premier League is truly back once again after mini hiatus there, and some big fixtures to talk about. Obviously, the Liverpool-Chelsea game's a big one. West Ham and Bournemouth as well could prove to be quite interesting as well. And do we see teams like Manchester United stumble once again, or does Arsenal stumble once more? It's going to be very, very interesting to see. That's why we love the Premier League. So many great games, and they're coming to us thick and fast at the moment. Make sure, guys, if you enjoyed this video and you enjoy football-based content, Premier League, world football, real-life football, podcasts, the lot, it's all here on the Player Zone channel. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and also share the channel with mates who would enjoy this type of content as well. We're pushing for 500 in the next month or so. That would be really much appreciated if you guys could join us along for this journey here. But that all being said, ladies and gents, enjoy the midweek football action. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys for the video very, very soon. Until then, see you later.